Today on Grace Uncensored, we'll discover that temptation doesn't mean you're broken. It means you need grace, not guilt, to overcome it.
Once you've heard this, you can't unhear it.
Christianity was never meant to be about striving, guilt, or religious pressure. It's about grace, real, unfiltered, life-changing grace. Welcome to Grace Uncensored, the podcast where we clear away the noise, break free from legalism, and rediscover the freedom, joy, and rest found in Jesus Christ. If you're ready to stop chasing approval and start living in the truth of the gospel, you're in the right place. Now here's Billy McDonald with Grace Uncensored.
Hey friends, welcome back to Grace Uncensored, the podcast where we get real about the struggle, but even more real about grace. I'm Billy McDonald, and whether this is your very first listen or you've been with us from the start, I'm so glad you're here. We've been unpacking what grace really looks like, beyond religion, beyond fear, and if you've missed any of the earlier episodes, all of them and the resources that go with them are in the show notes. And I'd really love to hear from you. What questions are on your heart? What topics do you want me to unpack in future episodes? You can email me at billymcdonald@graceuncensored.org. Again, that's billymcdonald@graceuncensored.org. Or just leave a comment wherever you're listening or watching. And hey, don't forget to subscribe or follow. And if you're on YouTube, tap the notification bell so you won't miss a single episode. Let me throw out an honest question. If I'm living under grace, why does temptation still show up like clockwork? And even more than that, how am I supposed to deal with it without spiraling into guilt, fear, or old school legalism? That's what today's conversation is all about, because grace doesn't pretend temptation doesn't exist, and it certainly doesn't give us a free pass to sin. Grace gives us something far better, the power to say no, because it keeps reminding us of who we are in Christ. So, let's dive in. Temptation is real, but we're not powerless. 1 Corinthians 10:13 says, "No temptation has overtaken you except something common to mankind. And God is faithful, so he will not allow you to be tempted beyond what you are able. But with the temptation will provide the way of escape also, so that you will be able to endure it." Here's the first truth. Your struggle isn't weird. It's not proof that you're broken. Temptation is common to all of us. But here's the promise. God is faithful, always present, always providing a way out. Grace doesn't mean you never feel the pull. It means you never face it alone. And you never face it without Christ's power in you. You're not a slave to sin anymore either. Now, let's flip over to Romans 6, where Paul says in verses 6, 7, and then in 14, he says, "Knowing this, that our old self was crucified with him, in order that our body of sin might be done away with, so that we would no longer be slaves to sin. For the one who has died is freed from sin, for sin shall not be master over you, for you are not under the law, but under grace." Man, that's strong. You're not locked in some battle you can't win. You're not a prisoner of your past habits. The old you, the one that was ruled by sin, was crucified with Christ. That's not a metaphor. That's spiritual reality. Grace keeps reminding you you're not defined by your worst moments. You're not just a sinner saved by grace. You're a saint, holy and set apart in Christ, who sometimes forgets the truth. And when you forget, grace brings you back. Grace doesn't just forgive, it trains. And we see this in Titus 2, 11 and 12, where it says, "For the grace of God has appeared, bringing salvation to all people, instructing us to deny ungodliness and worldly desires, and to live sensibly, righteously, and in a godly manner in the present age." That word instructing literally means training, like a coach. Grace doesn't just mop up after our failures. It gets ahead of them. It shapes us, strengthens us. Legalism yells at us. It says, stop or else. Grace whispers, that's not who you are anymore. It's the difference between behavior modification and heart transformation. And did you know you can run to God in the middle of whatever's going on? In Hebrews 4:15-16 it says, "For we do not have a high priest who cannot sympathize with our weaknesses, but one who has been tempted in all things, just as we are, yet without sin. Therefore let's approach the throne of grace with confidence so that we may receive mercy and find grace for help at the time of our need." Jesus understands temptation because he's been there. So when you're tempted, you don't have to run from God, you run to him. You don't have to hide or wait until you've cleaned up. You come boldly, right in the middle of it all. And what do you find? Mercy, help, strength, grace. Let me tell you about the unused key. Picture this. You're standing in a prison cell. The door is already wide open and you have the key in your hand, but temptation whispers, you're stuck. You can't get out of here. But that's a lie. The truth is, you're already free. The cell isn't locked, and grace isn't there to excuse your stay. It's there to empower you to walk out. All you have to do is believe the truth and step into freedom. And just before my closing thought, if this episode felt like a breath of fresh air, go ahead and leave a comment, share it with a friend, and hit subscribe so more people can discover what grace really looks like. And if you're unsure about your relationship with Jesus, or you've never really grasped the fullness of his grace, head over to youtube.com/@GraceUncensored777. There's a short, simple video waiting there that unpacks what the gospel really is and how it can transform you from the inside out. So, how do you deal with temptation under grace? First of all, you remember you're never alone. You stand on the truth that you're already free. You let grace train you, like it says in Titus 2. And you run to Jesus, who understands and never turns you away. You don't overcome temptation by clenching your fists and trying harder. You overcome it by trusting deeper. And that's the unfiltered truth and the uncensored truth of grace. Next time on Grace Uncensored, we'll look at what God actually expects from you and how your relationship with him was never meant to be performance-based. Until then, keep walking in the freedom he's already given you. We'll see you next time.
You've been listening to Grace Uncensored, where it's not about religion, it's all about real, uncensored grace. If this episode hit home, share it with a friend, and make sure to subscribe so you never miss what's next. Do you have questions or feedback? Drop us a note at billymcdonald@graceuncensored.org. That's Billy McDonald at graceuncensored.org. We'd love to hear from you. This is Grace Uncensored, where grace isn't earned. It's already yours. We'll see you next time.